Hi, and welcome to Transparent with Tina, a holistic approach for mental, physical, and spiritual well being so you can become the best version of yourself. Hi, and welcome to Transparent with Tina. I am Tina Marks, your host. So, we've all heard the phrase, it's just part of getting older. Whether it's a nagging back, stiff knees, or a loss of energy, we're told to just accept the decline. But what if everything you've been told about aging is wrong? Today's guest, Eileen Kopsoftis, is on a mission to prove that physical decline isn't inevitable. In fact, it's avoidable. As a specialist in applied functional science and the creator of the Move Without Pain method, Eileen helps people identify the hidden pain culprits that mainstream medicine often misses. Today, we're going to learn how to stop managing symptoms and start reclaiming a body that feels decades younger. Welcome, Eileen.
Yes, I love it. Yes. And I will start out right off with saying that I'm 67 and I've been hauling chairs to a local class that I'm teaching because they can't provide them. So I'm loading and unloading chairs from my SUV into the building, back to the SUV. I'm teaching 3 movement classes in a row, and I don't have any chronic pain. So it is
You're a
possible.
living example. I would
And I'm
never.
not perfect. I don't spend 3 hours a day at the gym,
No.
but there's a lot people need to know so they can make better decisions.
Well, two things that come to mind. One is they say that is like the key to life is movement. Okay.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
but now, I'm seeing all these things on Instagram about Tai Chi walking and then that other exercise where you're jumping up and down, swinging your arms. And, we're going to get into all that because I'm sure that might be part of your plan or not. But let's just backtrack a little bit. How did you get involved in this line of work?
Well, when I was real little, I wanted to be a doctor. And then when I got old enough to go to college, I realized I disagreed with the medical model because I didn't want to just medicate symptoms. I really wanted to address health.
Hmm.
And, this is not a bash on the medical profession. They teach what they've learned. But so then I decided, well, I'll become a nutritionist. Only I kind of disagreed with what they were teaching at that time too, because
Well,
based on my
and they
age,
don't really, what they teach you like 45 minutes in all
well,
of,
no, it was to become an actual nutritionist is a
oh,
4 year degree.
oh, gotcha. Okay.
However, what they were teaching was based on like the 4 food groups and all this other stuff. And I'm like,
Pyramid.
I had been studying from a nutritional almanac on my own out of curiosity and desire to learn, and was giving, I had all my coworkers asking me questions because I knew the answers to what was in this and what was in that. And so it was funny. It was like, I'm going to fail because I can't tell my professors I disagree with them. They're not going to pass me. So then the catalog did have the program for physical therapy in there. And I've always been fascinated with the human body and how it works. So that's how I got into PT. But the interesting thing is, I was introduced to somebody when I was still in classes who was extremely skilled at getting people better. And so when I graduated, I reached out to her and said, what coursework do I need to take that's going to help me to help people as well as you're helping them without wasting my time and resources? So she became my mentor, my friend. We traveled to all kinds of coursework. I invested more in my education after I graduated than I did to get my license because I was
Wow.
extremely addicted to learning things that would help people. And people
Hmm.
don't know this, but when a PT graduates, and I don't care if they're a bachelor's, a master's, or even a DPT, a doctorate of PT, that just means they've taken 1 or 2 years to study research. Doesn't mean they know more about how to fix people. And so it's like this entry level knowledge when we graduate. And then we take coursework, continuing education after that to decide where we want to focus. And so
Right.
you can have PTs that focus on wheelchair fitting
Right.
or hand therapy or geriatrics or pediatrics or so and it's the luck of the draw who you get. What coursework have they taken since they graduated? What do they actually know? The
Right.
difference between PTs can be jaw-dropping,
Yeah.
yet it's all the same profession, so people
Yes.
don't know that. And so I spent a lot of years with her learning a lot of great stuff. We drove 4 or 5 hours to every course we could get our feet into. And for 15 years, I spent my time putting my hands on people and fixing them and got really good at it. Then I came across what I call the holy grail of movement, and that's the applied functional science taught by the Gray Institute. And that was, and I'll finish it with this. The manual coursework taught me that like 99% of the time, wherever the person's experiencing pain is not the place that's causing the problem.
Wow.
So, in other words,
I read it on your website. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no,
but
that's a,
you said like if you're having neck pain, it could be related to your ankle.
yes, yes, yes.
That's
If you're having
crazy.
shoulder
Yeah.
pain, it could be your sacrum, it could be your low back. So I've learned this. I mean, if somebody has pain with coming up like this, a lot of the times they've got a torsion in their sacrum. So you correct that, you calm down the muscle that goes up into the shoulder with a very simple technique that takes less than 2 minutes. And now all of a sudden they've got full range without pain, but it wasn't their shoulder that had the problem, it was the low back that was off. They might have been in a car and hit rear-ended like a fender bender at a red light or something,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
shifted things. And nobody's going to look for that. That's not going to show up in an X-ray unless they're trained in manual techniques. They're not even going to know to look for it. So
Hmm.
I learned, for 15 years, I knew the problem is often not where the pain is being felt. So this applied functional science with movement teaches the same thing,
Hmm.
only it's about movement, biomechanics, how the joints work, how the body's actually designed to move, to walk, to lift, to push, to carry, to bend.
Yeah.
And so I learned these connections, and now I teach movement to improve people's overall ability to have the team working correctly again. And
Right.
a lot of the time, the body parts that aren't working aren't where they feel the pain.
Yeah.
And so everybody's chasing the symptom. And when they walk in to get treated, it's like they see you as a knee, they see
Yeah.
you as a
Yeah.
shoulder,
Yeah.
they see you as a neck. They
Not
don't
like it's all
look at it.
interconnected. Yes.
Right, right. So unless somebody knows how to look at everything, and I don't mean that you've got to treat everything, you just have to figure out where the problem is and then
Right.
treat that. And I often say the number one reason chronic pain doesn't get resolved is because nobody found the cause.
Nobody found the car. Well, yeah, I 100% agree with you. And just like I've told this story before, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety and depression, and the doctor wanted to give me Wellbutrin, which I just intuitively I just said no. Come to find out, it was my gut. Most
Mm,
people don't know that 90% of your serotonin and your dopamine is made in your gut, only
yeah,
10% in your
yeah,
brain. So it's the
yeah.
same kind of analogy. And I couldn't agree with you more about the physical therapy. I tore my Achilles. They misdiagnosed me. Then after 6 months, I went to a surgeon. He said, I'm sorry they misdiagnosed you. I went to PT. It was useless. It was absolutely useless. Now, I had cut my hand years before then. Now, he was very good. Let me ask you a question. So, something like for my ankle, I completely tore my Achilles. I still have a little bit of a limp. I cannot wear heels that are over a certain height now. Is it still repairable, or is that window past? Like if somebody's had an injury a long time ago.
Right, right. So that's a really good question, Tina. So when I was in college, we were told that scar tissue doesn't change after a year, that it's just, that's it. It's going to restrict things.
Right.
Whatever is happening is happening. That's not true.
I
Scar
love
tissue
that.
it's plastic, just like we've learned the brain is. The brain creates new neurons as long as you're breathing. It doesn't matter if you're 80 or 90. And
Right.
so we've learned this about the fascial system as well. Scars can be manipulated, they can be released.
Hmm.
And so if you have scar tissue, if you had any kind of a surgical repair or anything like that, but even the injury itself would create some
Yeah, I
scar.
didn't have surgery. I just
Yeah.
repaired. Yeah.
So there could be some fascial work that you could do, some very simple three-plane scar release work that's easy to learn. And what I have found 9 times out of 10, when people are rehabbing the foot, ankle, calf, because it's all,
Hmm.
connected, they're doing it in like one plane of motion. Or a lot of the things they're doing are non-weight bearing. So you're laying on a bench, you've got your foot and you've got a TheraBand, and you're pushing against the TheraBand, that you're
Right.
holding in your hands, which is absolutely useless because you're not weight bearing and everything changes when the foot hits the ground.
Yeah.
So training that foot and ankle in three-plane weight bearing function could potentially have a huge impact on your function. It's never too late.
Okay. I love that answer. So I'm sure everybody is like thrilled to hear that answer. So thank you very much. And I'll get with you after and figure out what that is. So you often say that everything we know about aging is wrong. What is the single biggest lie the fitness and medical industries tell us about getting older?
That it's inevitable that we'll decline.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest inaccurate statement. I don't want to come out and say it's an absolute lie,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who's saying it, but it's not accurate at all. On a cellular level, the human body is not designed to decline. I
That's what
mean,
I'm hearing.
there have been studies on cells. There was one study, I love it because people say scientists don't have a sense of humor, but they had this one cell that they were nourishing. They were making sure it got everything it needed every single day. And its name was Indy, INDY, and it
Mm-hmm.
stood for I'm not dead yet. So they do have a sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
And so this cell is doing fabulous. It's not dying, it's not aging, it's doing amazing. And then the next thing you know, one of the researchers forgot to take care of it one day and let's blow taps. It's done. It's over with. So, but what they learned through that is that cells, when they get what they need, have this amazing ability to be resilient,
Mm-hmm.
to perform, to not die.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our cells do have it's something called apoptosis, which is basically programmed cell death. So, and everybody's
Right.
heard that you're a whole new body every 7 years. All
Mm-hmm.
your cells have been replaced. And there is a lot to be said about that. The stomach lining is replaced every 2 to 3 days. I mean, your red blood cells every 4 months, they're all brand new, but they go, about 25% of them go in a different stage of life throughout that 4 months. But we are constantly renewing. And the bottom line is how healthy is your DNA because that's what's determining the new cells you're creating. And so, are you nourishing your body properly? Are you hydrating your body properly? Are you in the run from the bear mode 24/7 because of past trauma or
Mm-hmm.
chronic
Mm-hmm.
pain?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to create a chemical cascade that is just going to mess with you. So,
Oh,
you've got
it's
to
going to
learn how
burn
to get
out your
out of that.
adrenals. Yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah,
went through
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And there's a lot of strategies to address that very, very easily with breath and even splashing cold water on your face, humming, singing. There's so many things that can help your vagus nerve to just tell your body everything's
I'm
okay.
safe. I'm safe. And
Right,
most people
right.
don't
I'm safe.
understand. They're like, I'm
I'm safe.
stressed.
Yeah, yeah.
They
And when
think
they
it's
revisit the past trauma, like say you're going to counseling and you're talking about that trauma and you're looking at it and you're looking at it and you're looking at it and you're looking at it, every time you're looking at it, you're triggering the same chemicals that occurred when you experienced it. So you're reliving it over and over and over and over. And I'm not telling people not to get counseling. Hopefully they
right,
won't hear what I'm not saying.
right,
But that's, there's things people need to know so they can make better decisions.
right. And it's also that what we're putting in our head. So, like, how does the
Yes.
phrase "I'm just getting old" actually sabotage our physical recovery?
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're deciding that this is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
This is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing I can do about it. So I just need to learn how to live with it, how to
Manage it.
manage it, how to
Mm-hmm.
work around it so that
Mm-hmm.
it impacts my life as little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this belief system, this mindset, which is the first chapter in my book, Aging Culprits, that I talk about. Because if you believe you're going to decline, if you believe you're supposed to have 2 dozen meds in a shoebox by the time you're 60, if you believe all these things are supposed to happen, you're not going to make any lifestyle choices. You're not going to take any action, apply any strategies in your life that will reduce your risk of that happening because you just believe it's going to happen.
Hey
But you're
guys,
not.
okay, let's talk skincare. For most of my adult life, I had a hate relationship with my skin. I struggled with adult acne, discoloration, large pores, psoriasis, and fine lines. I swear, all that changed when I started using herbal face food. I mean, this stuff is powerful. We're talking the world's most potent antioxidant and anti blemish formula. And the serum is the number one anti aging serum in the world, made entirely from 100% botanical plants. No chemicals, no synthetics, 100% all natural. Whether you're dealing with fine lines, dark spots, sun damage, rosacea, psoriasis, melasma, or just want that all day healthy glow, Herbal Face Food has your skin covered. Literally. I've been using all their products for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's like green juice for your face, only stronger. Remember, whatever you put on your skin goes in your body. So, this is a really important point here, seeing that it's 100% all natural. Give it a try. It's got a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. You can check them out at herbalfacefood.com. Use promo code TINA20 for 20% off your entire order. That's herbalfacefood.com because your skin deserves
But
the
you're not going to
best.
seek out any information or any
Right,
new opportunities because it's like a done deal. And then,
right.
of course, your brain is the most powerful thing that we have, and that dictates everything. So,
Yes,
yeah, okay. So
yes.
what are some of the most common pain culprits that people completely overlook?
Mm. So the culprits, and that's in my book, Pain Culprits. I wrote about the culprits that nobody's looking at that are actually causing the problem. So I'll kind of go from the ground up. If
Hmm.
somebody has knee pain,
Hmm.
unless they are bone on bone,
Hmm.
it's almost never the knee that's causing the problem.
What is it?
It's almost always the ankles below because I'd say, from what I've seen, at least 80% of the population has a history of an ankle sprain or some kind of an injury because of sports, gymnastics,
Hmm.
falling off their bike, whatever. And nobody ever looked to restore those. And I worked with teenage athletes and I saw this because they would say, what, like a softball pitcher, 14-year-old softball pitcher would come in and her mom would say, oh, yeah, she had an ankle sprain last year, but that was fine. The coach said she could go back. The pain stopped, but now her shoulder's bothering her when she pitches. And when I looked at her, her ankle wasn't performing correctly, which was impacting the chain all the way up. So whenever she released the ball was not being released in a healthy way because of the ankle. So many people have ankle issues and they don't know it because there's no
Mm.
pain there.
Right.
And as people get older, their ankles get stiff. They lose range of motion.
Yes.
Nobody's training their ankles. So now it's impacting their posture when they stand. It's impacting their balance and their stability. They start to get weaker. It's crazy. So, and, and,
Right.
and nobody's training it in three planes. It's all this, oh, I'm just going to stretch it. So they put the ankle behind them and they just stretch it. But that's just one plane of motion.
Yeah.
It's completely missing the other two out of the three that we need to have.
Right. Right.
So,
So it's almost like if it's the ankle that's really the issue, and then it's showing up in the knees or the shoulder, like you said, it's like the knees and the shoulder overcompensating for the weak ankle. Ah, that
yeah,
makes that
making up
makes
for what's not working right.
for what's not working. And of course,
Right,
the ankle's not
right,
going to work because all the pressure is taken off the ankle.
right. Well, the
And which
knee
is
is
that,
getting
and I
torqued,
think that's
every
why,
time with every step. Now, the hip also, which is above the knee, can
yeah,
also be wreaking havoc on the knee because the knee is a simple hinge joint. It just bends one way, like the
yeah,
hinge on a door. Now, it does have a couple of other little motions, but for the most part, it's very simple compared to other joints. And it's stuck between the ankle and the hip with no place to go. So, and when if you look at anatomy, if anybody likes to look at anatomy pictures, the majority of the hip muscles come down and cross the knee. The majority of the calf muscles come up and cross the knee. So, of
mm-hmm,
course, the ankle and the hip is going to impact knee function. It's a given just by looking at the pictures.
right, right. Well, that was my next question. So you discuss how an old ankle injury can cause neck pain decades later. How can a listener start connecting the dots in their own body?
Yeah. So I have a free membership on my Move Without Pain private club where I have a 23-minute video and I show people how to assess their body. It's very cool because it's
Okay.
6 movements. They do it on the right side of the body and the left side of the body. So they see, oh, this side's not working so good in that plane of motion,
Hmm.
or oh, my hip's not working so good in that. It takes, literally a half hour to do it. And
Okay.
they can figure out because I walk them through it and I talk to them about if you feel limitation here, then it could be this, it could be that. So, I mean, I'm not diagnosing anybody, but I'm explaining the
Gives them a
mechanics
map.
of how the body moves.
Hmm.
And so in those 6 motions,
That's literally assessing 66 different joint movements.
Wow. Wow.
But the biggest thing about it is people can connect the dots. My heels lifting, I bet that ankle that I injured back when I was 12, on the in the playground, or things start to come to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, my hip's not rotating at all. No wonder my low back is hurting me. And that's the other thing.
Okay,
The low
okay. So
back,
I was going to ask you that because almost every day I have low back pain.
yeah.
And I'm thinking
So
it's the weight that so I've started backing off on because I take a weight training class 3 days a week and I started, but I feel like it's more than that.
yeah. So the low back is counting on the hips below and the trunk above. Nobody ever looks at the trunk for low back pain, ever,
Oh,
that I'm aware of,
yes.
unless they're trained in this.
Right.
And what happens is, and I'll explain it as simple as I can, the vertebrae in the spine have certain ways they move based on their shape and how they are stacked on each other.
Okay.
So the lower spine, the lumbar spine, the low back
Mm-hmm.
is stacked in a way where its strength in movement is to bend forward, like you're going down to touch your toes, or
Okay.
to bend backward, like you're reaching up overhead.
Right.
That's its strength. It has a little bit of ability to side bend, but not a lot. And it has almost no ability to rotate, maybe 7, 13 degrees. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if straight ahead is 0 and turning right is 90, 7 to 13 degrees isn't very much rotation.
No,
So many years ago, and you may not be old enough to remember this, but at my age I am, many years
I'm
ago,
not far behind you, girl.
they told people that they should not twist when they exercise because they're going to injure their back. And that's because somebody learned to look at a Kapanji biomechanics book and, oh, the lumbar spine doesn't rotate. No wonder people are getting injured. Let's tell them to stop doing that. Well, we have to rotate. You can't get out of your car if you can't rotate.
Right,
You
right,
can't get out
right.
of your bed if you can't rotate. So this is nonsense. So the truth is the trunk above is supposed to rotate. The hips below is supposed to rotate. And I'll end it with this. The low back's job is to send that rotation up and down. So if I'm standing and I turn in my kitchen to grab something from the refrigerator and my feet just rotated, my hips rotated.
Yeah.
Now, if my hips don't have a full rotation, my back is going to get grabbed. If
Oh.
I go to turn with my body as well and my trunk doesn't have full rotation, the low back can't send that rotation from the hips to the trunk because it won't go anywhere.
So
So
I
the
I
low
either
back
have
gets slammed.
I either have a hip problem or a trunk problem.
Yeah. You can almost ignore the low back to fix the low back.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. That's amazing. Uh, when something hurts, our instinct is to rest.
Hmm.
So when is rest actually the worst thing we can do for a joint or a muscle?
Yeah. Almost always.
Really?
Now, it depends on the injury,
Yeah.
right? It depends on the extent of the injury. It
I mean,
depends on
I
how much
sound
pain.
surprised, but I'm not surprised. But go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So the less we move, the more we stiffen. Our joints need to move because that's how they get fluid. That's how they get nourishment. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're familiar if somebody's in a hospital bed, and I've worked in hospital settings many times. I've worked with people who had so many lines and things connected to them. It was very intimidating initially. But you've got to move their joints because if the joints don't move within 72 hours, the tissue starts to break down because it doesn't
Oh,
get new nutrition, new fluid. So motion is lotion. We need
yeah.
to be moving our body. It's
Yes.
going to stiffen, things are going to seize up, muscles are going to kind of lock short, and we're going to end up in a lot more trouble. The
Right.
important thing is to be sure you're doing the movement that's right for you based on your specific issue.
Hmm.
So, and even, and this is something that people will benefit from, um, ankle sprains.
Yes.
If it, right, everybody says use RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. Well,
Okay.
that was put out in a best-selling book back in the 70s, which has since been recanted because they've learned that that actually delays healing. And the Gray Institute that I've taken most of my training from, I don't work for them. My program's not designed by them, but they are just brilliant beyond in training and in body movement. they have determined that all the athletes that they work with, and they work with some pretty high profile teams and athletes and all of that, they have zero occurrence of ACL with the people they work with, by the way, ACL injuries, which
Okay.
you won't find anywhere. And
Wow.
they determined that when you got somebody weight bearing and you didn't use ice, the sprain recovered faster.
I mean, because the ice is supposed to reduce the inflammation,
But
right?
it also reduces blood flow and slows healing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
movement will get the
So
fluid out.
when you said that when you're immobile, pretty much immobile, and you're not moving at all, and you said about the tissues being repaired, so that could be related to organs too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've
that
been trained
basically
in
being
visceral
immobile is the kiss
manipulation.
of death.
Yeah. Yeah. Our bodies are designed to move. We need to move.
Okay.
And I've taught people some very simple movements to get started with, especially if they've got a lot of chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many people where they have reported phenomenal results in just getting started, just to
Right.
get moving again.
Right.
So,
Okay, what is one micro habit like your 2 minute release that can have have a disproportionate impact on how we feel throughout the day?
I'm trying to figure out what you're asking me. So you're asking me a habit we do that causes
Yeah,
us harm?
a micro habit. Actually, I think I wrote this down. What a micro habit. Well, can you explain what your 2 minute release is? Do you have
Yeah,
a
so basically it's a I call it a hip matrix. It's
okay.
basically movement of the pelvis in
Yeah,
standing in
okay.
three planes of motion. So it starts to get things to release. And the most important thing for people to grasp is not to do movement that creates pain. Because when you're doing a movement that causes pain, your brain immediately believes it has to protect you from you.
Yeah.
And so it's going to cause you to do weird, funky things you're not going to know you're doing. You're going to rotate, you're going to side bend. Your brain says, well, maybe if we shift over this way, it won't hurt as much when she does that. So, but your brain isn't going to tell you that you're cheating.
Right.
So if you're causing pain with repetition, you're literally training in dysfunction. You're not restoring function. So I'm adamant that people do repetitions that are successful, which means they are not painful
Mm-hmm.
and they're safe. If they've
Mm-hmm.
got any kind of stability issues, let's not risk falling down, because if we pick a foot up, we're all over like this, but we think we have to be all over like this because we think if we hold on to something, we're cheating.
Right.
It's like, no, not holding on is
No,
going to cause you to cheat.
I'm starting to
Yeah, yeah,
recognize that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
I'm like,
so the
I don't
very
need
simple
that.
thing that I've
Mm-hmm.
told people is when you're standing, now, if you've got pain with one of the movements, you just don't do that movement. Try
Mm-hmm.
doing the opposite with a little extra oomph. So what I mean by that is if you're somebody who's done a lot of sitting for whatever reasons, and your front hips are locked a little short. They're attached to your lumbar spine, they're
Mm-hmm.
attached to your low back. So when you go to stand up, if they don't want to get longer again, they're going to pull on your low back. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to think you got a low back issue, but you don't. You got a
Mm-hmm.
front hip tight issue.
Right.
So, and then the old-fashioned hip stretches are they can be effective, but not really. So what we really want to do is we want to kind of move in this beautiful dynamic way that releases those hip flexors. But we want to do it in all three planes of motion. So
Mm-hmm.
if I just stand there very gently and I just kind of swing my hips forward and swing them back. Now, if going forward causes pain and pulls on my back, then I'm just going to go backward to kind of shorten them a little and make them happy. And then
Mm.
just come forward enough where I'm not eliciting pain.
Okay.
And what will happen is as you continue with the repetitions, you'll notice, oh, I can get a little further. Oh, I can get a little further. You're kind of inchworming to restore the motion. And then you also want to do the other two planes. So you do a little sideways, where I'm kind of kicking my hip out like I'm going to tap a parallel bar, and my upper body sort of side bends to be part of the motion. And I'm kind of shifting my weight foot to foot. And again, if one of those motions, like if it hurts to go left, then don't go left. Just
Go.
go right and straight. And what I've seen is even in the clinic settings when patients would come in, I'd say don't go left, but after a couple days, test it because you might have restored it. And they'll come back in a few days later and they'll say, yeah, I can go both directions now because you're restoring that plane of motion by only doing what the body's happy with.
Hmm.
And then it feels safe. It starts to release and it allows you to go the other way, unless
It,
there's some kind of a structural problem. And then
yeah.
sorry, just one more thing.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
rotation.
Hmm.
So you've got to be able to turn.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that is, that turning is happening in the hips. It's not the low back. So
Hmm.
if the rotation in the hips is limited and you feel any low back twinge, only do the rotation that feels good or minimize the motion. Make it very small. But you've got to restore hip rotation so that
Hmm.
your low back stops getting punched in the
So my
nose.
doctor says that we don't die from old age, we die from inflammation. And I couldn't agree more. When I found him a couple of years ago, I was not in great shape. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and he found out it was all related to my gut. Did you know that 90% of your dopamine and 90% of your serotonin are made in your gut? Okay. So I have been on all of his products ever since that day. But the ones that I want to talk to you about are the alkalizers. He's got one for coffee and he's got one for alcohol. What do? They make the beverage from acidic to alkaline, which is so important because if your body is too acidic, it is a breeding ground for disease. So you want to keep your body in an alkaline balance. So with the coffee, it comes either for black coffee or it comes flavored as a creamer. I love the flavored ones. Vanilla is my favorite, but I also love the hazelnut. They're all delicious. One scoop, and it does not break your fast for one. It changes your body, your coffee from acidic to alkaline, which you don't have to feel guilty about drinking coffee anymore. And the one for alcohol does the same thing. 5 drops into any alcoholic beverage, and it will make it from acidic to alkaline, meaning no hangover. It doesn't change the taste, it doesn't change the color, and best of all, it doesn't change the buzz. You can still drink and enjoy yourself, all the while knowing that you're not causing inflammation in your body. So go to www.getoffyouracid.com and use the promo code Tina
In the
Marks.
nose.
Now that
20.
you said all this, I don't think it's my trunk. I think it's my hips. I was a runner my
Mhm.
whole life. I'm not very flexible at all. And, I think what you're saying is listen to your body. But what we
Mhm.
try and do is we push through. And
Yeah.
whether it's your body really restricted or your body trying to keep you safe, just like your nervous system, right? Why do I have so much anxiety? It's trying to keep you safe because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel safe. It's the
Yeah.
same analogies of what you're
Yeah.
saying right now. So
Absolutely.
work with it, listen to it, be gentle. I love this. This is fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing those exercises tonight. I
Yeah.
have a feel exactly. And my brother has the same issue. He was
Yeah.
also a runner. So
Yeah.
having worked with people well into their 90s and 100 years old, what is the common denominator amongst those who remain independent and active?
From what I saw, because I've done home care for like a decade, I also did nursing home settings and long-term rehab. And it's interesting. I'll just share with you the what's the word I'm looking for? How I compare, the comparison.
Okay.
So I'm standing in the kitchen of somebody who might be early 70s. They're sitting in the chair. They've got the walker in front of them. Their kitchen counter is covered with, and I'll say this bluntly, crap.
Yeah.
It's baked goods and
Yeah.
sweets and treats, and I tell them, okay, let's drink some water before you start moving. Oh, I don't like water. I've never liked water.
Doesn't
And
matter. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, here's mine too. So this is what I saw. And then, they're on 2 dozen meds. They've got so many comorbidities, which means they got a lot of diseases going on in their body. And they're kind of, decline is inevitable. They're going to end up in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really, they don't really want to work with me, but they're being nice. And so they get up, and then I say, okay, we're going to do some exercises. Oh, I hate
Yeah, and
exercise.
I knew you were
I
going to
never
say
exercise.
that.
So that's that population.
Mm-hmm.
Then the person who I was shocked at how many people over the age of 100. I live in upstate New York, and I worked in a hospital that was in Troy, New York. For anybody who's listening to this who knows that, it was St. Mary's Hospital. And many of the patients who ended up in there who had like a very short stay because of pneumonia a cold would get a little bit more because you
Mhm.
are older where you may be a little bit more prone to things. But for the most part, they're pretty healthy. And so they go home from the hospital and I go to visit them. They usually only need like one visit, maybe two. And I see fresh fruit on the counter. They're drinking a bottle of water or a glass of water. And I talk with them and they go, "Oh, yeah, I've been exercising my whole life," or "I love to be active. I've done this, I've done that." Talk about a difference.
Yeah. It's really
Like
what
night
you're putting in your
and day.
body and moving your body, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. I
yes.
mean, it's pretty darn simple.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to decline, I might as well enjoy myself. I might as well eat what I want. Might as well drink what I want. Might as well do what I want
Right,
because I'm going to decline
exactly. It's
anyway.
almost like a pass, right? Or are we all going to die someday? And I agree. Yes, we're all going to die someday. But I've always had this. You don't want to die. I mean, you don't want to get old and have no money and have no health. Those are the two
Yeah.
things you do not want to have when you get older.
And
And
the beginning in my pain culprits book, I talk about I lost two brothers in their 40s, and they both
yes, I
lived
read that.
terrible nutritional lives. My one brother, the only time he ate vegetables was in the summer. He'd eat tomatoes and corn on the cob. Other than that, it was meat and potato chips.
Uh-huh.
My other brother, I'd invite him over. I'll bring the meat. I mean, it's yeah, they didn't
Yeah,
eat any
yeah.
plants, no salads, no, and they both died in their 40s.
Well, and the reason for that is because meat is a great sense of a great source of protein. Yeah, and if it's grass fed or if it's hormone free and everything else, but it's acidic. And when your body is acidic, it creates inflammation. So, like every day I
But
have
again,
powder.
they weren't eating any plants.
Right,
And we've
right,
got to
right.
get those antioxidants in our body.
That's what I'm
We've got
saying.
to get those that
I start
nutrition.
off with powdered greens every single morning. I eat vegetables during the day too, but that's that extra insurance. It's like
Yeah.
5 servings of vegetables. So if for those of you who go, I don't like vegetables, then drink it. It's a
Yeah,
little
there are
tiny
options.
scooper,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so what is one exercise that everybody should stop doing immediately? Or is there one?
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's more than one. But if I had to pick one, when people go to the gym and they sit down and they push against a weight to straighten their knees, that just trashes the knee joint. It provides so much shear on the knee joint. It's insane. And it's not how our quads were designed to work. And I want to and I've never had anybody answer this. I say, when you're sitting in a chair, what in real life or even in sports would you ever straighten your knee against weight for repetition?
Right. I can't believe you
Nobody
said
can
that.
answer that.
That is the one machine that I would always avoid because I didn't like it. It felt foreign. It just,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
didn't even know
Yes.
why.
Yes. And it's the
But
same for the hamstrings. When you bend your knee and you push against resistance, same
do the
thing.
back for your butt.
Yeah.
I never liked those either.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're not authentic. It's not how the body's designed to move. The
No.
muscles are designed to move to perform in context of what it is you're doing physically. And so I always tell people, if you go to the gym, if you see a movement, I want you to picture in your head, when would you ever do that movement in real life or any sport?
Right.
And if
So
you
like
can't
squats,
picture
of
it,
course you're going to.
don't do it.
Right, 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 right. Oh, that's a great question to ask yourself, especially if you feels like this feels a little weird or I don't really like this exercise. Maybe that's the reason
Mhm,
why.
mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
walk us through the first step of your move without pain method? One simple assessment somebody can do right now while sitting or standing.
Yeah, so that, the hip matrix, can you
Oh,
extend?
oh
Can
yeah.
you flex? Can you
Hmm.
side bend both ways? Can you rotate both ways? And then, of course, that video that I've got that's free access, where they can do a nice full blown assessment, and there's a PDF they can download and document their findings, and there's also a class that introduces them to the movement and how to address those things that they find. It's all free.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you've got a lot of things on your website. So you can join something monthly, you can join it yearly.
Mhm.
A lot of info, or there's a lot of free things on your, tell us your website again. It's
It's
have,
well the
yeah, go
Well, the
ahead.
best one to go to, because I do have so much content. I've literally got 8 websites because two of them are for my books and yeah. So what I tell people is go to the main website,
That's what I thought.
havelifelongwellbeing.com,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a 5 question quiz on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes less than 2 minutes to answer. And when you answer it, a page is going to pop up and show you the content I have available to address that specific issue. Whether
Okay.
it's free, whether it's something you have to pay for, but it's all going to be on that page. So if you don't know where to go, and maybe your issue is bone health or incontinence, or you answer those questions, and the website will provide you with a list of where to go and what to look.
It gives you a direction.
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, real quick, let's talk about something we all deal with, but never really think about. Electromagnetic radiation. Yeah, EMF. It's everywhere from our phones, laptops, Wi-Fi routers, even our smart fit fridges. And no, I'm not saying ditch your tech. I mean, who could? But I am saying you can protect yourself from unnecessary exposure with Aries Tech. Backed by peer-reviewed studies and independent testing, Aries Tech makes compact, science-backed EMF modulation devices that help reduce the effects of electromagnetic radiation on your body. Rather than blocking the EMFs, Aries Tech's products work with your own body's electromagnetic field to balance out the effect. Yes, you heard that right. Our body is made up of energy, and this works with your own energy to balance out the effects. I've got one around my neck, one on my phone, and one in my living room. And honestly, it gives me peace of mind knowing I'm doing something small that can make a big difference over time. So whether you're working from home, gaming for hours, or just scrolling your feed in bed, protect your space. Check them out at ariestech.com and use the code TINA25 for 25% off your order. That's AIRES tech.com because your body deserves better. What would you say is the most underrated tool for pain relief?
Underrated tool for pain relief. Well, the movement, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but if for whatever reasons it's coming to mind is breath,
Real okay.
because there are ways to breathe that will get us out of that run from the bear mode
Oh yeah.
and into the heal and repair mode.
Yeah.
Because you can't do both. One is the gas pedal, the other's the brake. You can't hit them both at the same time. You're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So you've got to get out of the run from the bear mode and breath. There are breath strategies, and I've got those on my YouTube channel. I've got videos on that, breath for pain.
I do that every morning just to regulate my nervous system.
There you go.
I'll
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
box breathing, 4 seconds, always in through the nose, then hold for 4 seconds, out through the mouth for 4 seconds. Yeah, because that really does work. Or, grabbing your vagus nerve right here.
Hmm.
But okay, we're
Well,
talking.
I'm always reluctant to tell people to do that because if they grab an artery, they could pass out.
Oh,
So,
okay. Maybe some of us want to
because
pass.
some people used to, they would want to take their pulse, and if they pressed in the wrong area, they would literally pass out. So I'm reluctant to tell people to do anything around their neck with pressure.
Right. Yeah. 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 To be safe, on the safe side,
Yes, yes.
unless you're there with them or something like that.
Right, right.
Okay. So my last question is, if you could put one health truth on a billboard, what would it say?
That you are a whole person, not a body part.
Love that. The mind, the body, the spirit, and you're just taking a deep dive into the joints. And I love the fact that let me just for my own clarification, is it always true that, let's say, it's knee pain? Would it be the two opposite? So the ankle and the hips, it's the ones that are on that encase it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's the opposite leg.
Oh, it's the opposite leg.
Yeah. So sometimes it could be the opposite ankle or the opposite hip.
Right.
It depends on when they're experiencing knee pain. So if it's from walking, we've got to look at their gait and see where's the hitch in their get along and fix that.
Yes.
So sometimes it's opposite side.
Yes, I probably need to do that. Take a video of that and see
Mhm.
exactly what that looks like. I know I had one more question for you, and I'm trying to think of what it is. Oh, well, there's my ADD.
Don't claim that.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't.
Reject that right now.
Yes, you're absolutely, oh God, it was along those lines too. It was along a line like that. But okay, before I let you go, the website is havelifelongwellbeing.com.
Yes.
And you'll see everything in there,
Yeah.
including free things.
Yeah.
What is
Just
the
click the
best
quiz, the tab for the quiz, and that will
tab for the
help to
quiz, right? That's the
to
way to,
give you
now,
direction.
how do they get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Oh, my contact information is on all my websites.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so they
Well,
can email me.
it has
Mhm.
been amazing having you on. I've learned so much. I've never had anybody on that where we've talked about this. And that's what I love about doing this podcast is because,
Yes.
it's all about evolution. And, we don't
Mhm.
like to knock anything like the traditional medical, even though it hasn't evolved. It just
Right.
has not evolved. And if you got to
I
think about it,
agree.
it's like, I don't think our school systems have evolved. You know,
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the, the
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I agree
curriculum in the
100%.
school system, why are we not teaching our kids about
Yeah.
finances and about eating? Oh,
How to
that's
balance a
what,
checkbook, how to, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Real
exactly.
life.
Instead of stuff that we're not going to, it came back that
Okay.
I think it came back. I just love, this is going to be,
Well, I do want to comment quick on what you just said about the medical field. It's kind of stuck and it's not moving forward.
yeah.
I did just have a conversation with a colleague the other day, and he was asking me how I figured out it was the ankle for a football quarterback who had shoulder tendonitis. And I said, because I assessed the shoulder and there was no limit, there was nothing wrong. There were no impairments, there were no
Okay.
deficits. I asked him to show me how to throw a football, and I saw the ankle was very unstable. And he goes, I knew you were going to say that. It's because you asked him to show you how to throw a football. He said, would an orthopedist in an office ever ask somebody to show them a movement? And I'm not picking on orthopedists,
Mm-mm. So
but he said,
here,
if
here.
somebody tells me they got low back pain with a deadlift, I'm go, okay, let me see you do a deadlift. Let me see you do that movement. We can figure out, oh, it must be, the medial hamstring or the lateral quad or
Right.
but no, we've got to watch the person do
Yes.
the movement and then figure out what's not working right from there.
Right. Exactly. Well, do you work like that? Like if I said, have my son film me and then I sent it to you I mean, you do private
Well,
coaching?
I do private consulting. I'm very limited in how much private consulting I can do.
Okay.
But I've been using Zoom to do consults since long before the world shut down.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's what I mean,
The
Zoom.
only
Because
difference is now people know how to use Zoom. But
right.
I walk you through those same six movements. I observe, I document, I
Okay.
figure out what's not working correctly. Then I give you movements to improve that, and then we reassess. And if those initial assessment movements improved, we know that's the right homework for you. And
Right.
then that's kind of a starting point. Yeah.
Okay. So I remembered again, I wrote it down while you were talking. If somebody does eat clean, like we're talking about, and if they do, exercise and they pay attention to their body and their mind and their nervous system and everything else, what do you think would be an average age of easily that somebody could live to?
Well, they've determined that the human heart can easily last for 150 years if it gets what it needs.
Interesting.
So I think the human body is capable of a lot more longevity than we understand.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we, the food industry has, we're poisoned with most of the food,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. So
Well, and
it's,
that's why we have to take all these supplements too.
yeah. And
You know?
sometimes the supplements aren't really the answer either because
No,
the body doesn't perceive them as food. I mean, I could eat a piece of aluminum foil and it's going to come out the other end. Like if your grandson ate a penny,
right.
you're waiting for it to come out because the body says this isn't food. Let's get rid of it. So there's a lot of supplements out there that the body, it's just expensive waste. So the body really is designed to get its
You
nutrition from
from
food.
food. I had
And
somebody on last week. She was she does CBD and she does mushroom tinctures for animals. And a vet who I had on recently, they said the same thing.
yeah,
Don't take a probiotic, eat your probiotics. You should be eating all that
right,
instead of taking the
right.
supplements. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you guys learned as much as I did. And again, her website, because it's a long one, is, why don't you see it? Where did I put that?
HaveLifelongWellbeing.com.
HaveLifeWellbeing.com. Thank
Have
you so much.
lifelong well-being. Yeah.
Lifelong well-being. That's
Sorry.
right.
Yeah. HLW was taken. So I had to.
I know. I'm trying to find a new domain right now. I'm like, oh, darn. Anyway, such a pleasure having you on, Eileen. Thank you so much for being here and giving us so much amazing information.
Thank you for having
Truly
me, Tina.
grateful.
I appreciate you because, you're out there wanting to improve the world. You're part of the solution. I love to meet people who want to be part of the solution.
Exactly. And you know what? We're
Yeah.
all interconnected, so we all should
Yes.
be supporting one another.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.